Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a review of the new Marvel Legends Thor Love and Thunder Thor figure from the Korg Build-A-Figure wave. This figure represents a very interesting take on Thor that we haven't seen any live-action footage of yet, just, promotional renders and stuff for. But it's got Thor in this very decorative, very souped-up looking armor compared to what he normally has, complete with a big old helmet. Makes him look like he's, probably slipping into some kind of role akin to his father Odin, though I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen. This might be him transitioning into his Odin son persona because, that's what happened in the comics, right? Once Jane Foster became Thor, original Thor took on the name Odin son for a time. So maybe that's what they're going for here, and they just kept the name Thor because they don't want to spoil it or something. I don't know. But if you have seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Thor's packaging, then we'll open it up. We'll get a good look at Thor himself. We'll check out all his posability, his accessories. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Thor comes in our standard Marvel Legends packaging. It's got the Thor Love and Thunder logo right here for the new movie. You got his name. You get your Build-A-Figure call out up here. You can see our figure right here with this big, pretty open window here. I guess I shouldn't say open because that implies there's no plastic. It is a plastic window still. While these still last until we get blind boxes. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to open one of those up and find the Build-A-Figure piece missing or something. All right, if we go ahead and turn the box this way, we can see that render of Thor. Now, I've seen this same render with and without a helmet. So I believe the original render is helmetless, and you can see just kind of due to the difference in art style, the helmet itself looks like it's just kind of like pasted on there because it's a lot cartoonier looking than the face that's behind it. So I'm not sure, but I do believe this is just kind of tacked on to help coincide with the figure a little bit. It is a shame we don't have a helmetless head for this version. I mean, there's the Ravager Thor, but I don't know. A little weird. All right, here on the back, we can see Thor's fuller artwork or render here. See him wielding Stormbreaker. And then we get his name as long as his flavor text, which reads, Thor unleashes the power of Stormbreaker to overcome any foe. Rather generic write-up. Wish it would have mentioned more about this whole getup he's got going on, but, they probably don't want to spoil the movie. Down here we get a CGI render of the Korg Build-A-Figure. So it looks mostly like how Korg's always look, but he's sporting a new outfit this time. And then we get our cross-cells here. So we get this figure, the Thor figure, which does not come with the Build-A-Figure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still new to the Legends collecting thing, but I think this is called the Anchor figure, right? The one that doesn't have a bath piece. I think they call it the Anchor figure. I'm going to have to double check that. All right, then we get Mighty Thor, a.k.a. Jane Foster. We get Gore, sporting a very, very different look from how he appears in the comics. It's just, it's bald Christian Bale with scars. I don't know. Weird choice. I mean, I know the MCU characters don't always look exactly like they do in the comics, but this is a pretty big departure. I was really looking forward to something that looked, like Gore the God Butcher. So hopefully, the plot and the acting is enough to make me forget about the fact that he's got a nose now. I don't like it, but we'll see how it goes. Then we get King Valkyrie, because if you've been following the MCU, you know that Valkyrie is the current king of Asgard after Thor has stepped away. We get Ravager Thor, which is Thor in much more formal attire and dressed as if he's, part of the Ravagers and he's accompanying the Guardians of the Galaxy. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, we get Star-Lord, all new figure, and he's sporting some facial hair this time around. And then we get Groot, and this is a teenage version of Groot, which I believe is the first time we've received a figure of teenage Groot, right? We have adult Groot, and I think there's a baby Groot out there somewhere, like a minifig or something. But this is our first time really getting that, pubescent tree monster. So overall, pretty cool, pretty exciting. I like the artwork, I like the colors. You got the cracked Mjolnir symbol up here. I never really point these out, but all Legends toys, they have some kind of symbol on top that coincides with whatever the release is, whether it's part of a series or just specific to the character. I do think this brownish gold coloration for the text and the symbol just really works with the artwork and the overall look of this. So, yeah, really nice packaging. I think it does a good job of hyping up the movie, but now it's time to open it up. Okay, now we get to see our Thor figure out of the packaging. And we have his Stormbreaker laid out here, as well as his closed-fisted hand. And the figure itself is very impressive looking. It's got a lot of detail. Now, what's really cool, and this is something that I had seen discussed online, and now, I get to check it out for myself. A lot of people talked about the rubbers on the figures in this wave have been made a lot softer than usual, what we've seen in the past, and it's true. It's very, very floppy. Look at that. Look at all the give it's got. And even like the little skirt flaps, they have a lot of give, which is great because that means he can do this and not be hindered. He can do this and not be hindered. And his cape won't get in the way of things. I think that's awesome. I think that is a very, very welcome change from the stiffer rubbers or soft plastics that they've used in the past. Because one of the big issues I've seen, especially it seems with MCU figures who just generally have more elaborate costumes than their comic counterparts, a lot of clearance issues, like, try lifting, Doctor Strange's legs up to do a high kick or something. You can't. All these robes and stuff in the way. So I think that is a marked improvement over what we had in the past. You can also see that his cape is molded to have it kind of folding over the front on this one side, which just gives a really nice dynamic feel to him. All right, the head is on a ball joint with a hinge. Tight hinge. Very tight. Ooh, that doesn't want to go at all. May need to crack that bad boy loose a little bit. There we go. Sometimes you just got to exercise these joints when you come out of the package. There you go. He can't look up very well because his hair gets in the way. Even though they've molded it to be kind of flowing in the wind and up, it still just kind of hits against his cape and his shoulders, so he can't really look up, just down. Of course, left and right. He's got the universal shoulders, bicep swivel, double elbow bend, universal wrists. He has what appears to be a ball-jointed torso. Or might actually be a universal. Looks more like a hinge and swivel combo. Yeah, looks like it. He doesn't have an actual waist swivel because of this, but as we saw, he has the universal hips. Got the thigh swivel, double knee bend right here. These little knee pads make for a good spot to have that break in the knees too. He's got his ankle rock and rotation. So fully posable, looks really good. Now there's one thing about this toy that scares me as a longtime collector of Transformers figures. How many of you in the Marvel Legends community have heard of gold plastic syndrome? If you don't know what that is, perhaps you haven't tuned in to the Transformer stuff before. It is the phenomenon of certain metallic plastics, and they just chose gold, but it can really be any metallic color. Especially ones made in like the late 80s, early to mid 90s. They have a tendency to break down over time, and that's due to the way that the some like metal flakes basically are mixed into the plastic mixture, and over time they cause the molecular bonds of the plastic to decay and come apart, and eventually the plastic becomes very, very brittle to the point where any kind of force exerted on it will cause it to just kind of snap or crumble, and then in the worst case scenarios, they'll sometimes just crumble on their own, like just sitting on your shelf. They just from their own weight they'll fall apart. Now, this is something we haven't seen much in recent history. The most recent example that I'm aware of was the Unite Warriors Motormaster toy from the Transformers brand. And that toy was, kind of surprising because it was the black plastic that failed, but it was a metallic black plastic. Because again, the actual color doesn't matter. It all comes down to the mixture. So whenever you have a toy like that, it's basically destined to break at some point. Some take longer than others, some hold up really well, some fall apart very, very easily. And the reason I bring all this up, the reason I'm going on this, kind of aside here, is that my experience with those, and it's pretty, vast, this right here on his arms looks exactly like that kind of plastic. Now, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that it's not, because it's something that has been, publicly addressed by Hasbro, and they said that they've fixed the problem, that they've found mixtures that aren't going to have that issue. But I got to tell you, having handled a lot of toys that are prone to just breaking apart on you, the arms freak me out a little bit. And, his shoulders, especially this one right here, good bit of friction there. It takes some force to lift his shoulders up. And I can just see like the peg that the bicep is on just cracking right off. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying I won't be very, very surprised if after a few years these guys, their arms just start breaking or falling apart. I hope not. I hope I'm just being paranoid, but Man, does that look a lot like something on like a Generation 2 slingshot, doesn't it? Ooh, buddy. Material concerns aside, the arms do look really good, and it is a great shade of gold that really just shines in the light. And everything else about his armor too, it's just really nice. It's very ornate, very heavily detailed. The blue on gold on black, it's really, really nice. It really, honestly, the colors they're almost too bright, like in a way that they give him more of a comic vibe than a live action vibe. And if I didn't know this was an MCU figure, I might actually assume it is something from the comics. But either way, I think he looks phenomenal. Now, of course, we have some accessories to look at. We have his axe, Stormbreaker. It can be wielded in this one weapon holding hand. Just kind of push it between the thumb and the index finger. Now, not every part of the haft of this axe, like, is tight in his hand. It'll flop around if he's holding it, like, here. So you gotta find a good spot. You can either, like, grab it all the way by the base or bring it up a little more. And right about here is kind of the sweet spot where it'll stay in place a lot better. So you can have him wield his iconic axe that he's had since the end of Infinity War. He's still rocking it. For anyone wondering, his Mjolnir that he had in Endgame, that got brought back to its respective timeline. It's not something that was like explicitly addressed, but when you see Cap go back in time to restore everything, he has Mjolnir at his side. So that's why Thor doesn't have it anymore. The Mjolnir that we see Jane Foster wield is actually the one from this timeline, which was shattered by Hela in Thor Ragnarok. And you can actually tell by looking at it, it's all cracked, and there's like energy coming out of it. So she wields that now, which is why, you know, this Thor doesn't have it. But he still looks really, really cool with Stormbreaker. It's an awesome looking weapon. Of course, if you don't want him holding Stormbreaker for whatever reason, either you want it like sheathed somewhere or you give it to another character, you don't have to have him, you know, just stuck with this weird open hand. You can give him a nice closed fist. And a closed fist, I think, is very appropriate because Thor sure does like to punch things. So, you know, you can give him like this real heroic look. You can make him look like he's about to knock somebody's lights out. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this guy. Now, I will point out that despite the fact that he does have very, very good posability, he suffers from an issue that a lot of cape-wearing figures suffer from, and that is back heaviness. Now, I have him posed in a way to where, you know, he's pretty stable right now. If I shook my table, he would absolutely fall over. But I have found, just by playing with this guy off camera, that trying to pose him a little more dynamically, a little, you know, more exaggerated poses, can be a little hard, and he does tend to want to fall backwards. So just be aware of that. You know, it's the same kind of issue you run into with like a Doctor Strange toy or something. He does tend to be back heavy. It's not the worst case I've seen. He definitely has much better balance than something like the J. Jonah Jameson that I reviewed previously. But he's also not the most stable when it comes to just not falling over. So just be aware of that. Okay, so here's a fun group shot of Thor with some of his Avenger buddies. Obviously, it's not all of them because I don't have all of them, but this is what I've assembled so far. And as before, I'm getting a little bit of help from my son's mini collection with his MCU Iron Man, since I don't have one yet. So we get Thor, then we get the No Way Home wave Spider-Man. We have the recent Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange. And then this Iron Man, I forget which, I think, is this not Endgame, is it Infinity War? I'm not sure. It's one of those. So it makes for a nice team shot. Now, what's funny is that these are the most recent incarnations of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, or, you know, most recent designs for them, outfits, whatever you want to call it. Well, Thor hasn't seen them in a while, right? He's been out romping around space, so this is a team-up that probably won't happen. At least not with these characters and, you know, these particular looks. But, hey, it's something, right? And look how big he is compared to the others. Like, he looks like a real bruiser. I mean, Doctor Strange is not a short man, right? I'm not sure exactly how tall Benedict Cumberbatch is, but I know he clocks in at over 6 feet at least. And look how much taller Thor is than him. I'm not sure if that's actually like screen accurate, or if they've actually just made this one bigger, like bulked him up in some way to show some sort of like power surge or power gain. I don't know, but he definitely stands out. He's about half a head taller than the other, you know, adult males in this picture, so he definitely commands quite a presence between his size and his design, which is really good. I mean, he can basically look like the leader of the team, which, I mean, might be fitting considering there is no more Captain America, so I could see Thor stepping up, especially if he's, you know, really come into his own. And this completes our look at the new Love and Thunder Thor. I very, very much like the design of this figure. I think it came out just very well. The paint apps are on point. The color choices, everything about this guy. I love the new soft cape, and I really look forward to seeing how that works out with the other figures, especially Star-Lord, right? Because he does get that like duster on, that long jacket or coat, whatever you want to call it, trench coat thing. So having that not be in the way of his leg articulation is going to be really nice. As far as this guy, I think, again, he is really cool. He is a little lacking, I would say, in the number of accessories that he comes with. He has one optional hand, and he has Stormbreaker, and that's it. And you are going to see a trend with that here in the entire wave, and it's something I will touch on as we go through it and as we wrap it up. But there does seem to be a decrease in the number of optional parts that are being included with these guys. I don't know if it's just a kind of a fluke and it's just what happened with this wave, or if it's going to be, part of a trend with Legends from now on. I mean, there's, all sorts of, cost cutting going on with like the box and all that. I wonder if they're going to start including less accessories and still charge the same price. I hope not. Hope that's not the case, but outlook, not great. I don't know, we'll have to see. But as far as, what we get here, utterly fantastic. Even if he only has the one optional hand, the hands that he does come with, I think, just really work well. He's got the one to hold Stormbreaker. He's got the really cool fist. And I really like this hand right here and the way he can just kind of reach out to things. Or, look like he's about to throw his axe like I got him here. Again, not the most stability when it comes to, not falling backwards. He has that back heaviness that comes from the cape. I will say it's not as pronounced as some, and that's probably due to the lighter material that's used for this cape now. So that is a bit of a plus. And again, he's not the hardest thing to pose. You just got to be a little more careful. I also do have those concerns about the arms and the whole gold plastic syndrome, or GPS for shorthand. Possibly even on the helmet too, though that does appear to be a softer plastic. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Check back in 5 to 10 years and we'll see if my Thor still has arms. But until then, until he possibly crumbles away, I think he's a very much worthwhile toy to pick up. We don't know much about him yet as far as, where this armor and this, whole getup comes from. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough because the movie's coming out in July, which is only 2 months away. I'm looking forward to it. It looks like a good time. If it's anything like Ragnarok, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But until then, we could tide ourselves over with this really, really awesome figure of Thor. So, yeah, I would go ahead and try to pick them up. They're popping up at Walmart's left and right now. I actually accidentally ordered this guy from Pulse. I thought these were pre-orders when they revealed them because, they almost always, when they do these like fan first whatevers, they put up pre-orders. So I just blindly ordered the whole wave thinking like, oh, they'll show up in a few months. I didn't even look at the release date or anything. Next thing I know, I've been charged and they're on their way. I'm like, oh, whoops. Getting them sooner than I thought. But right around that same time, they started popping up at Walmart, so I didn't get them especially early or anything. And these do seem to be pretty easy to find at most places. So yeah, I would very much pick them up. For the standard Legends price, I think you get a lot here, even if he doesn't have a lot of hands. He's a big, well-painted figure. Of course, that is just how I feel about this toy, so now I want to know what you all think of him. Do you like this new design? Is it a figure you're interested in picking up? Do you, like having this new variation of Thor and, really just dig the way his arm and stuff came out? Or do you not want this? Maybe it just, does nothing for you. You think it's too different. You don't have any attachment to this design yet. Maybe you'll change your mind after seeing the movie. Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. And thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Marvel Legends Korg Wave Love and Thunder Thor. With all that said, I will see you next time.